All right, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. This is your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. The number to call in, 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. We're coming to you live from the ReliefFactor.com studio. The Pentagon admits killing as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, in the Kabul drone strike. So that's something that we had actually spoken about earlier this week. Apparently, it's now official because I think that we realize this. Nevertheless, Hat Tip Breitbart, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin admitted that the U.S. military may have killed up to 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, in a drone strike in Kabul on August 29th that was intended to kill an Islamic State Khorasan attacker. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin apologizes for the drone strike that killed the 10 Afghan civilians in Kabul. The investigation concluded that the strike conducted to prevent what was believed to be an imminent threat to Hamid Karzai International Airport resulted in the deaths of as many as 10 people, including up to 7 children. On behalf of the men and women of the Department of Defense, I offer my deepest condolences to surviving family members of those who were killed, including Mr. Ahmadi, and to the staff of Nutrition and Education International, Mr. Ahmadi's employer. We now know that there was no connection between Mr. Ahmadi and ISIS Khorasan, that his activities on that day were completely harmless and not at all related to the imminent threat we believed we faced, and that Mr. Ahmadi was just as innocent a victim as were the others tragically killed. We apologize, and we will endeavor to learn from this horrible mistake. Austin said he has directed a thorough review of the investigation into the strike by CENTCOM in order to ensure accountability measures are taken and what strike authorities' procedures and processes need to be altered in the future. I don't mean to laugh, folks, but these people are a complete and utter joke. Whether you're talking about Lloyd Austin, whether you talk about Milley, listen, I understand, sadly, when it comes to war, tragedies happen. Tragedies happen, and this was a horrible and sad beyond a tragedy. But these people are an absolute and utter joke, and it's frustrating. There's not going to be any accountability. No one's being fired for this, as far as we know. And I just don't see that happening. And then we still have Milley. And then yesterday I talked to you about the Biden administration paying $64 million in ransom, basically, because you still have Americans and SIVs sitting on the tarmac at the Kabul airport waiting, or Mazar Sharif airport, waiting to take off. But the Taliban wants to get their cut from the Biden administration. The Biden administration isn't admitting that it is ransom, but that is indeed what it is. We have a feckless leader in the White House and administration that are hell-bent on working with terrorists. That's where we find ourselves today in America. But I do believe there's some good news, because things are starting to stir up. Let me go back to this story with Nicki Minaj. This is turning into a bigger deal than even I anticipated, to be frank with you. And I think this is a beginning of something that we're going to see happening over and over again with more and more people of influence. I think there's going to be more and more pushback that we see. I pray to God that it's not too late to save America. And I don't think it is. I'm in the fight for the long run. And I hope every single one of you that are listening into this program are determined to be in the fight to save America as well. In the second hour, we're going to go into how this Durham attorney was indicted for lying and concealing ties to the Clinton campaign. I want to talk about the Olympic gymnast, Michaela Maroney, and the other gymnasts who basically the FBI lied and covered up their sexual assault allegations, and just straight lie. And January 6th. The January 6th rally is supposed to be held tomorrow. All of that stuff, I'm going to tell you how all of this stuff, all of this stuff is connected. Durham, the Olympic gymnasts, the J6 rally, which no one knows about, apparently, except Nancy Pelosi and some representatives in Washington, D.C. I've not heard about this thing. I didn't even hear about this thing until this week, and I only heard about it because liberals were talking about it. So anyway, we'll talk about that. Also in the third hour, I'm going to be talking about Larry Elder and how I believe he's the only one that can take back California. And I've heard some political pundits, and I've heard some, other radio hosts talk about how political strategists and Republican strategists have said there's going to take a certain type of person to be able to win California. And guys, we're in a new era. And I got to admit to you, I hesitate to talk about this simply because obviously everyone will look at me and say, well, this guy has an ulterior motive. When it comes to Larry Elder, of course, he would want Larry Elder to do this and do that. Larry Elder is his own man. This is Larry Elder's show. This is Larry Elder's seat. This is Larry Elder's mic. But I'm talking to you about a new era in politics that we're in. And unfortunately, I don't believe a lot of Republicans get it. And the more news stories that I read and the lack of response and the lack of fight that I still see, or the lack of fight that I see in the Republican Party, is indicative of just how the Republican Party still seems to lack a bit of understanding. So I want to talk about that. Also in the third hour, illegal immigration. Encounters are over 200,000. China's biggest movie star was erased from the internet, and the mystery is why. And I believe that's coming to an American town near you if we're not careful. So I want to talk about that. But those are things that I want to talk about. But going back to this story with Nicki Minaj, I believe this is promising. Fans of rap artist Nicki Minaj protested outside the headquarters of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta after she tweeted her thoughts on the vaccine. Nicki Minaj told me the truth. Fauci lied to me, the protesters chanted Wednesday, referring to White House coronavirus expert Dr. Anthony Fascist Fauci. The fans were inspired by numerous tweets Minaj sent out, first explaining why she hadn't gotten vaccinated yet, then defending herself against the furious backlash. One protester's sign read, "Defend Nicki at all costs." Minaj was ridiculed by some for tweeting that her cousin had avoided getting vaccinated because his friend reportedly became impotent after receiving the vaccine and experiencing swelling in his testicles. Health experts denied the possibility of the story and criticized Minaj for passing along unsubstantiated anecdotes. Unsubstantiated anecdotes. You mean like when Fascist Fauci said that if 50% of the population was vaccinated, we'd be A-okay. I wonder if that's what they mean. Among those bashing Minaj were MSNBC anchor Joy Reid, and we talked about this, who called on Minaj to tweet support for vaccines for her more than 22 million followers. Minaj responded by lashing out at Reid, calling her a racial epithet, Uncle Tomamina, I believe she called her, and recalling her controversial past with homophobic blog posts. Minaj then tweeted a video of Fox News host Tucker Carlson defending her skepticism on Wednesday, and had to defend herself against those who called him a racist and a white supremacist. She later claimed on her Instagram account that she had been suspended from tweeting because of her claims. I say all that to say this: they're scared. The Biden White House is scared. Democrats are scared. And Nicki Minaj is making an impact. This is exactly what Democrats do not want to see. So they're going to try to silence her, but it's not going to happen. We'll talk more about this on the other side.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
They're racist, racist, racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake, Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
Well, Wright came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say,
Nicki Minaj, and obviously we had already spoken about this story the other night, but I'm telling you, I think what's happening is the left are digging themselves a hole. They're going to get themselves in trouble, and I believe they are getting themselves in trouble because now, I mean, they keep making this argument or this narrative, it's us against them. And so at first it was Joy Reid coming out for Nicki Minaj, and then you have blacks that were protesting and fans and other colors as well, other ethnicities as well. But a lot of the ones that I see pictured are black, and they're protesting on behalf of Nicki Minaj, and they're protesting on behalf of their freedom. They're protesting because, listen, it is their bodies. The vaccine, they may or may not be for them, but they're for Nicki Minaj. They're skeptical. They're skeptical. They want to be able to ask questions. And so I think this is going to have a huge backlash on the Biden administration, because once you start getting these people, we talked about Jim Brewer, the SNL alum, last night. Once you start getting these people of influence speaking out against this stuff, I'm telling you, this stuff is going to cascade. It is going to cascade. The question is, what will we do about it in the long run? It's going to call for all of us to get involved somehow, some way. We all have to be activists now. Courage is contagious. Courage is contagious. Heavy metal with a message. Megadeth frontman Dave Mustaine endorses what? Endorses Rick Santorum. What? Okay, I did not see that one coming. That actually wasn't the story that I was looking for. But anyway, this frontman from Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, he is well. He was in a concert. He was given a concert. He stops. He turns to the crowd, and he tells them to look to their left. He tells them to look to their right. And what do they see? A bunch of maskless people that are enjoying themselves, that are enjoying life. And he reminds them of what liberty is and what tyranny is, right in the middle of his concert. Of course, this same gentleman, Dave Mustaine, made comments back in the day about Obama. I believe it's 2012 at another concert, and he was talking about Fast and Furious and how the Biden administration, and we're going to get into guns because ladies are buying up guns, and I love it. I'm going to give you a story courtesy of Forgotten Man from Detroit. It's pretty amazing. A black NRA instructor, yes, they do exist. They may be rare, but they do exist. But I'm going to tell you what he's doing to help the ladies out in Detroit. But Dave Mustaine said, hey, listen, this when it comes to mask, he was like, what you're seeing is tyranny. What you're watching is tyranny. This is in the middle of his concert. These are people, obviously heavy metal. Some may be political, some may be apolitical. But when you have people that you admire and they're starting to share this message and he asked them to literally Google the word tyranny. I'm telling you, this stuff is going to have a backlash on the Biden administration. I got to say, I almost feel sorry for illegal aliens. I'll get into this in the third hour. You guys know the news. You got the Biden administration now blocking the ability of Fox News and others. They were flying drones to take a look at all the illegal aliens that were packed under this bridge in South Texas. I look at where America is now, and I say to myself, does anyone want to explain to them that they literally just risked everything and not so much for a better life right now with Biden in charge? I mean, at least if they're going to risk their lives, and I think we need to repatriate every single. Oh, I'd love to hear that. But if they're gonna risk their lives, and I want to repatriate them, I want to send them back. But I'm like, don't you want to give them an America that they can actually say, listen, I almost made it. I almost got the golden ticket. They're not even getting the golden ticket anymore. It's almost as if their travels are for naught. Now, listen, I know America is still the best country in the world, but it's absolutely crazy what this Biden administration is doing. But it is going to have a backlash. I think 2022 is going to be our year, and that's why I've said repeatedly that we need to stay on alert. We need to stay vigilant. We need to keep fighting. But I believe we're going to do some serious damage in 2022, and the Democrats are going to try to do as much damage as possible between now and then. Here's some audio of Dave Mustaine from Megadeth and on the George Strombo show. All right, here you go.
What are the rights that you're most concerned about?
Well, for me, freedom of speech, because I got a big mouth.
Are you following the Republican race? Or do you decide which party? Are you a Republican or a Democrat now?
I'm kind of a vote for the lesser of two evil kind of guys, and it's such a disappointment watching what's happening right now. Because, George Soros came out and said that Mitt Romney is just like Obama. So, what do you got there? You got Obama's mentor saying that Mitt Romney's like him, and he's leading the polls now. And Newt Gingrich, who's just so completely angry right now that he's just sputtering. To me, the guy that makes the most sense out of all those guys is Rick Santorum. He just looked like he could be a really cool president, kind of like a JFK kind of guy.
Did I read right that you were a birther? Did I read that you called into question where Obama was born? I read a quote, and I wasn't sure if that was accurate. The internet can't be believed.
I have a lot of questions about him, but certainly not where he was born.
All right. That was Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, and obviously he's going to be able to influence a lot of people. And he's asking serious questions. Now, when it comes to, I'm glad he made the clarification. I'm not asking about where he was born and stuff like that. I believe you get into those arguments and you just fall prey to the left oftentimes, sadly. But regardless of the fact, these people, these influencers, these superstars are going to have an impact. That's exactly why Biden wants to invite Nicki Minaj to the White House, so they can manipulate her, so they can intimidate her, try to, give her, I'm sure, a bunch of false information. The truth of the matter is the whole issue with the vaccines are ineffective, and they know it. The monoclonal antibodies were working. That is proof positive that that therapeutics work. The Biden administration has been going out of their way, along with the CDC, Fauci, NIAID, NIH, all of them going out of their way, at least their figureheads, to just kind of dismiss or at least not even talk about natural immunity and therapeutics. And here you have this monoclonal antibody that's working effectively, and now they want to hoard it. The federal government wants to hoard it because they say there's not enough. And Eli Lilly and others that produce it say, oh, listen, there's plenty and they can make plenty. So it's just not true. The Biden administration wants to punish us, and more people are starting to get it, even those we didn't expect, like Nicki Minaj fans. This is Carl Jackson, and for the great Eldersky, we'll be back in a few.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
They're racist, racist, racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America. You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your
The number to call in, 888-971-7243. 888-971-7243. A back. Brace yourselves. Honestly, in every way possible, spiritually, financially, mentally, this is going to be a rough ride. But I believe that ultimately we are going to win. And again, we're talking about influencers that are standing up more and more. I think the left made a big mistake, Joy Reid even, but she's clueless, but she made a big mistake, probably unknowingly going after Nicki Minaj, who isn't a conformist. I mean, that's the very reason I would imagine a lot of these people become artists and are as talented as they are, whether you like their music or not. They're obviously talented. They're obviously, a lot of them anyway, business savvy. Apparently Nicki Minaj is very business savvy as well. And Joy Reid made a big mistake. The White House made a big mistake. And then you have Twitter that has imposed black codes on Nicki Minaj. And honestly, I feel like Twitter, I really feel like that's the way that we need to explain it when it comes to or frame it when it comes to Twitter. It's, in my opinion, it's a black code against Nicki Minaj. She can't be, she's got to be silenced. She can't be heard. And she just brought up some basic common sense questions. And then here's the more recent story about the gentleman from Megadeth, Dave Mustaine. That was an older that was him back in 2012. Obviously that's a little older, but apparently he has obviously a record of speaking out and loving the First Amendment. So here he was at a concert. Dave Mustaine, again the front man of heavy metal band Megadeth, blasted mask mandates in a tirade to fans during a concert in Camden, New Jersey. I just want to tell you how great it is. Look around, you guys. Look to your right, look to your left, and look at how wonderful this is. This was said by Mustaine on Wednesday. We're all here together. We're not effing bags. We're not freaking out. And we're not yelling at people. Wear your blanking mask. He added, Listen, it starts with this kind of a sensation that we build right now. We feel together. We feel strength in numbers. We feel like we are invincible. People will not be able to stop us, he says. Right now, he goes on to say, what's going on is tyranny. This is called tyranny, he says. Look it up when you get home. And tyranny isn't only in government. Tyranny right now is in the schools, and tyranny is in the medical business. We have the power, especially us heavy metal fans, we have the power to change things. This is far from the first time, again, that Mustaine has spoken out about his political beliefs. Another time in 2012, during a concert in Singapore, he said the United States was turning in to Nazi America. And he accused then President Barack Obama of staging mass gun murder incidents so that he could push gun control. Now, let me say this. Operation Fast and Furious. I remember the Obama administration would talk about frequently how they were scandal free. And that's not true. I call that a fib. Fast and Furious, IRS scandal, Benghazi. That's a fib. The Biden administration, prior to this administration, was one of the most corrupt administrations in modern history. No one wanted to say it because he was black. And I got to tell you, I feel like that's racism. That's real racism. Not holding a man to account in the strong, in the most powerful job, the most powerful position ever. That's racism when he's not held to account based upon his performance. Because you're saying, hey, he gets a pass because he's black. He gets away with corruption because he's black. Or maybe he's not as intelligent. And the man was very intelligent. He was just a leftist. And that is, in my opinion, a racist. But one of the things the left is so good at doing, in my opinion, they go for the gusto. They go so big, we talk about it, and people accuse us of conspiracy theory when it's right on the money.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Vice President Kamala Harris is learning the hard way you can run, but you can't hide over your administration's disaster in Afghanistan. There she is over in Singapore being asked about this crisis. Americans being stranded, as Newt Gingrich put it this week. We've surrendered to the Taliban, essentially, and now we're trying to negotiate the terms of the surrender. And Politico national security reporter Alex Ward released leaked U.S. State Department evacuation numbers from Kabul, Afghanistan. According to Ward, we evacuated a total of 6,916 people from the country. Of those, only 483 were Americans. The vast majority of evacuees were Afghan nationals. So we're airlifting Afghan nationals out of Afghanistan, which leads the White House press secretary to describe that as a complete success. I mean, unreal. I want you to hear Jen Psaki. This is pretty amazing. Cut number 7. Responding to Peter Doocy, who is her constant foil. This is a success.
Is there any concern that maybe trying to reach this deadline and get everybody out, mistakes are being made now that there is a report that at least one of the Afghans evacuated to Qatar has suspected ISIS ties?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
The Arizona Supreme Court said Tuesday that contractors hired by the state Senate to conduct the audit would not need to release the records from their review by next week. This is only a temporary delay, is what we're being told. A left-wing watchdog group, American Oversight, took its record request to the court and emerged victorious when the Arizona Court of Appeals ruled that Cyber Ninjas, the Florida-based firm leading the audit, was subject to state public records law because it was performing a core government function. Arizona President Karen Fann argued the records should not be publicly released because they're maintained by private contractors, so legislative immunity applies to the documents. It is ordered extending the stay to enable the court to fully consider the issues raised in the petition for review. American Oversight's suit is not the only one leveled against the Arizona Senate. The Phoenix-based Arizona Republic newspaper sued the chamber and Cyber Ninjas on June 30th for access to the host of audit records under the same public records law. Of course, the Arizona Republic is suing. I mean, why would they be reporting? They would be suing people to try to stop the audit. The audit results are coming out soon, despite all of these legal challenges against it. We don't know what it's going to say, but I could tell you that people are very nervous that what might be implemented from, what actually might be exposed from these audit results are going to be significant. Very significant. We know that there were 72,000 more mail-in ballots received than were sent out. We know
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. And we were talking about Megadeth frontman Dave Mustaine and the message that he sent and to his followers, to his concert goers, if you will, in Camden, New Jersey. And, you know, basically this is a man that apparently, you know, loves freedom. He has a history of speaking out at some of his concerts. And one of the things the left has done, and it started with Obama, and I got to tell you, I'm almost envious at how well they work this, and conservatives have not caught on. And I've even listened to some of the best in some of the better political strategists, if you will, and they don't understand, I believe, the era that we're in. I mean, yes, they understand that the radical left is trying to get their way, and they think that we're going to be able to control them by the regular norms that we normally do in the Constitution. You know, there's going to be checks and balances. But what happens? The reason why we have let me ask this: what happens when the left doesn't respect the rule of law? And we'll get into this into the second and third hour. But when we take a look at this border crisis, what happens when the left doesn't respect the rule of law? Because the Biden administration, no matter what court order comes down, they're still ignoring the rule of law. That's why we still have a border crisis. Biden could end this border crisis today if he wanted to, simply by following the law. He and his administration, whomever may be helping him along, are choosing to do the exact opposite. But the left goes for the gusto. And then they'll go for something that seems so far out. You're like, no way. There's no way they can't be doing that. But they do. Just like Fast and Furious. If I told you that the President of the United States conspired with his Attorney General to send American-made guns across the border into other countries where those guns could be and would be used knowingly to kill other people, only so those guns could be traced back to America, and the President of the United States could say, see, our gun issues in America are killing people around the world. We need to clamp down on the Second Amendment. That sounds so far-fetched. It makes me sound crazy. I don't even like talking about it. But Obama did it. and it's called Fast and Furious. And Border Agent Brian Terry was killed as a result of it. And then there was IRS. I was audited twice. I was just a local Tea Party guy blogging and writing here in Orlando. I mean, out of the blue, I had never been audited before, never any issues with the IRS. And then all of a sudden, one audit, and then the next year one. And I was involved in a campaign at the time as well, helping on a Tea Party type candidate campaign. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I had started writing for some publications at the time. I just couldn't believe it. And then it happened again. It was unreal. But this is what they do. The Biden administration, just like the Obama administration, they will do everything to intimidate, to manipulate, but it's going to have a backlash. And when you look at Nicki Minaj, when you look at Dave Mustaine, and the people that they happen to influence, see, they may not listen to me. They may not listen to any of the Salem hosts. They may not listen to other talk show hosts. They may not even listen to their parents. But Nicki Minaj, just by standing up standing up for her own values, standing up for her own principles, not calling for anyone to do anything, can get a group of blacks to protest in front of the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm telling you, the Biden administration is fearful of this. You see, even Larry Elder, when it comes to the California race, I hear all these talking heads and political strategists pontificating about Larry Elder, and I'll get deeper into this in the third hour, and just how, well, you know, he wasn't necessarily he wasn't necessarily the right candidate for California. Guys, we're past that. See, I think this is the benefit, and I'm not bragging on myself. I just think it's true. I think this is the benefit that I bring to radio, because I'm not necessarily proud of it. It's just a fact. I'm just a little more ghetto fabulous. And I understand how the left works. The left is in a street fight, and the Republican Party doesn't even realize it yet. The brightest political minds don't get it. That's why they think California could never be won. That's why I know they're wrong. Because what they're doing in California is playing hey, we've got these stats, we've got these numbers, it's California, it can never turn 1 to 2, so on, etc. But and then you get people that get it. People like Rick Grinnell that are like, hey, we got to fix California. There's some structural issues that we can fix. You get people like Larry Elder that get it. Hey, A, B, C, D, and this and that. And everybody saying he was, well, not everyone, but some people have said, well, I was the wrong candidate. No, that's not true. They had to spend approximately or nearly around $80 million in the last several weeks of the race in order to defeat him. But he wasn't. Give me a break. No one else would have came close. No one else did, as a matter of fact. The only difference, and here's what you need to know. Here's what strategists need to know. I didn't even intend to go here right now, but we'll get more into this later. Here's what you need to understand. You have to know your audience. That is one of the rules, 7 rules of social change that I never got to, but I promise, I think I'm just going to work them in as the days go by. But know your audience. See, California, it's great to bring up stats, but you got to bring the emotion into it too. I would have said, Larry, you need to get a Latino speaker to go out and hit these Spanish communities. You may need to get someone Asian to go out and hit separately, apart from you, to connect with them. Give the stats, but you got to connect emotionally. It's a twofer in California. I need some stats and I need some love. That's all California is. I need some stats. I need some love.
Trending now on The Dennis Prager Show.
I had with my producer prior to coming on just now, I said that either of my children could have done better, and then he said, your grandchildren, who are 10 and 5. It's hard to imagine. I think the 10-year-old could have managed it better. However, I do want to say something. I was listening to Tucker Carlson, for whom I have great respect, and he had what is the woman's name again? Lara Logan, for whom I also have great respect. And she was on, and she was saying, opposing the way in which we exited or are exiting Afghanistan does not mean that one opposes exiting Afghanistan. They're two separate issues. Well, they are. They are two separate issues. However, I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth. Okay?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
But don't worry, everybody. The Biden regime, they're taking this very seriously. In fact, the Biden regime has issued a scathing memo that has made the Taliban legitimately frightened. I am reading, quote from thehill.com, the State Department voices concern over all-male Taliban government. This is shocking. In fact, this could change.
To the Larry Elder Show. This is your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. The number to call in to the ReliefFactor.com studio is 888-971-7243. There was a gentleman that called in from Pennsylvania that I wanted to speak to. He was like, what do we do about the cheating? And I was just about to bring him on before he dropped off the line. But here's what you do. You get involved. Here's a good thing about Pennsylvania. For whatever reason, you guys have managed to elect Republican state legislatures. Put their feet to the fire. And correct me if, listen, a caller, call in, correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm not mistaken, they've been trying their best to tighten up election integrity. But if not, it is time to put all your energy and your effort. If you have a Republican legislature or a Republican legislator, call. Write if you have to. Get involved. Get involved in your local executive committee. Become a poll watcher. Do whatever you have to do. I mean, a gentleman called the other day and listen, he was like, Carl, talk about election integrity every day, and he talked about Mike Lindell's series on election fraud. And I'm like, that's great. That's great. But I think a lot of us have watched that. I think a lot of us agree with that. Some may not, but I think a lot of us agree with that. A lot of us understand that there were a lot of anomalies in 2020 that makes it really difficult to believe that Joe Biden actually got 80 plus million votes, especially when you look at the guy now. Now, Trump was hated so much that it may be possible, but nonetheless, how do you stop cheating? We can watch the videos by Mike Lindell, but Mike Lindell put them out to empower you. you know, what do we do here, even on talk radio? It's like, okay, you know, a lot of people on talk radio are involved in other things, but also one of the things that talk radio brings is, okay, our goal is to inspire you to fight for America. What is God telling you to do? Find whatever your gift is, use it for the betterment of America. Use it by raising great kids, teaching your kids to love God and to love America. Homeschool your kids if you can. Prager has a great program, the PragerU University, whether it's college kids, whether it's this new homeschooling program that they have. Take advantage of stuff like that. But that's stuff that we can do and prepare. Just all out prepare. The left is corrupt. We have a fight ahead of us. There's no doubt about it. We have a big fight ahead of us. But I believe in the long run we win. And I obviously spiritually as a Christian, I believe that. But I believe that politically too. In the next hour, we're going to get to this Durham indictment. We're going to get to California cities that are leading in salaries needed to buy a home and why that's important. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. We'll be back.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime.
I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
Dylan Wright came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay. As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy, and thankfully, without any American casualties. We have seen thousands of people who have been evacuated from the airport in Afghanistan, where the United States military doing very hard and difficult work.
It's very difficult to get all those Afghans out of Afghanistan. Again, let me read the numbers to you. This was leaked, and it's on the Federalist. We've got the whole article posted at MikeOnline.com. According to this leaked information from the U.S. State Department, the evacuation numbers, within 15-hour period of time, August 23rd, midnight to 3 p.m., the United States evacuated a total of 6,916 people. Only 483 were Americans. The vast majority were Afghan nationals, 6,425.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to...
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But there are no doubt Americans.
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. Let me tell you quickly about Cry Macho, a Clint Eastwood movie. Warner Brothers Pictures presents Cry Macho. From legendary director Clint Eastwood comes a story of being lost and found. Eastwood returns as a one-time rodeo star and a washed-up horse breeder who takes a job to bring back a man's young son home from Mexico. The unlikely pair face an unexpectedly challenging journey. The only road home is through redemption. See it in theaters and on HBO Max for 31 days, and it is now playing. Rated PG-13. All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. This is your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. The number to call in to the ReliefFactor.com studio is 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. Let me just give you a couple of stats, and then I want to play a piece of audio from Larry Elder here. But here's some Larry Elder stats. Hat tip, actually both Sean and Forgot Man sent this to me. So 2003, California Governor Gray Davis faces recall. Registered Democrats, 44%. Registered GOP, this is back in 2003, mind you. Registered GOP, 35%. Independents, 16%. So you can see between Republicans and Democrats, the numbers were much closer back in 2003. But what does that say about the fecklessness of the Republican Party, that they've let the state of California just go to hell? What does that say about the Republican establishment there? And granted, not all. Obviously, there's always going to be some pockets, some leaders that are phenomenal, that do a great job. But what does it say about the Republican Party that they've let in California, that they've let that state go to hell? That's why they needed a Larry Elder. Now, fast forward to 2021, this year, obviously. And then California Governor Newsom, he faces a recall. Registered Democrats, 46%. So they've increased by 2% from 2003, percentage-wise anyway. And then registered GOP, only 24%. So a lot of Republicans, in my opinion, more than likely have fled the state. And then you have independents at 23%. So you have a larger number of independents. You actually have enough independents and enough Republicans to defeat the Democrats. Now, granted, a lot of independents will probably, go one way or the other. But I believe that you can persuade people. Schwarzenegger in 2003, in order to obtain the governor's seat, got 48.58% of the vote. Larry Elder stands at 47%. So it's not like Larry Elder did horribly. As a matter of fact, he was doing extremely well. But the left do what the left does. They scare people. They use tactics. They use money. I mean, they come out for a street fight. The left comes for a street fight, and Republicans want to talk and have a conversation. And obviously, it wasn't that way with Larry Elder. I mean, the guy was doing a great job on his campaign. There's no doubt about it. But I'm talking about the Republican establishment. The left understands that. The left understands we're in a civil war without bullets being fired, thank God. Because I'm not suggesting that we go there, all right? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced Republicans do. I still hear Republicans trying to strategize as if we're dealing with a Democrat Party that even cares about the Constitution anymore. Let me tell you why the left hated. They hated Larry for the same reasons they hated Trump. Everybody assumes, or left-wing media and some establishment guys and even some very smart conservatives on our side just assume that the left hated Trump because, he's not polished. His policies were good for the most part, except the spending. But his policies for the most part were good. But, he was just a little too braggadocious. He didn't speak with the most eloquent words. It was one of these people you might be embarrassed to be around in public. They kind of had that attitude towards Trump. And so they assumed, because the left spoke in this way with them, right? I'm sure when they were talking behind Trump's back, oh, he's so unsophisticated and all this kind of stuff. So they assume that's what it is. I'm talking about the people on our side. But that's not why the left hated Trump. The left hated Trump because he knew them. The left hated Trump because they knew he would get down and dirty with them. That's why they hated Trump. Because Trump knew how to play their game, so they had to destroy him. They're used to these Republicans. Well, yes, I'm so sophisticated, I'm smart, and I can run the Senate perfectly, and I can run the House perfectly, so we're going to accomplish A, B, and C. But when it comes to advancing our agenda beyond the courts, that's where I stop. They knew they didn't have fighters. We don't. Who do we have? Who do we have right now in the Republican Party? A handful of people in the Senate, a handful of people in the House that you know are going to press a conservative agenda going forward. But they hated Trump, not because he was unsophisticated, not because he wasn't the best explainer out there, didn't have the most grandiloquent tongue or words, or they hated him because he knew them. And that's the same reason they hated Larry Elder. Because they knew that he would cause damage to the Democrat Party. And not just short term, long term. I look at these Democrats that come out and, Nancy Pelosi overseas talking about, she's admitted that, basically, China, there's a genocide of Uyghurs. She admitted it. But she believes that man-made climate change is a bigger issue. So that America has to continue to work with China. See, these people don't care about life. That's why they didn't care about, and why they don't care about now, Americans that are still left behind and being held hostage. I don't even hear enough Republicans on radio talking about that anymore. Americans are still being held hostage. And we're silent. We're just crickets. So we're just going to go along with the flow. We're just going to follow the news as it goes. And that's what the left is counting on. Because they know they don't have a bunch of fighters to deal with. They know, see, what we need are ghetto fabulous politicians. We need politicians that are willing to go mano a mano. And I'm not talking about break the law. I'm not talking about cheat and be corrupt. I'm talking about fight for the future of this country. Don't be scared to be called names. For the first time, for the first time ever, I was kind of honored by it. Some guy, I couldn't even find him when I tried to search for him. Some guy called me a bootlicker. I've never been called a bootlicker before. Not that I recall. But filling in for, somebody said that I was filling in for Larry Elder. I was an even bigger bootlicker than Larry Elder. And that stuff doesn't even fade me. It doesn't even fade me. Like, it used to somewhat, but it doesn't even fade me. Because now I worry about what God calls me. So that's why I just continue in the fight. I kind of felt like it was an honor. I'm not going to go around and kiss black booty. I don't care if they're liberal. I don't care if they're leftist. I don't care who they are. I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm a sellout because I think differently than you, and you happen to be the same skin color. Maybe it's you that's the sellout. By the way, I mean, you're voting for the Democrat Party that created the KKK, that fought against civil rights, that didn't agree with Nixon on affirmative action. What? You can't care about that stuff. This is a civil war. This is a street fight, and we got to win. Elder Show. This is your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. Listen, I think people are waking up all across the country again. Just going back to what we talked about in the first hour, you have this front man, Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, that are telling a crowd of concert goers in Camden, New Jersey, hey, listen, what does this feel like? This is, how great it feels to be maskless in a concert, and telling his audience what, to go look up the word tyranny and check it out. I mean, that's powerful. People following Nicki Minaj fans that went out and protested in front of the CDC in Atlanta, Georgia. See, these people, they fear the people they know that can do damage. They do not fear, that was Dave Mustaine, by the way. They do not fear people that they know can't do damage. That's why they had to destroy Trump, because he actually said what he meant, and he meant what he said. Whether you liked him or not, that's why they hated him. And honestly, the political punditry, I think, hated him because he made them look bad. And there were some things that I didn't agree with Trump. There's some things I wish he would have done a little bit differently. But for the most part, he was a really good president. And the left knows it. And the left feared him. The left feared him because he knew their game and he knew how to fight back. The left feared Larry Elder for the very same reason. All of these other Republican candidates that had came up before, and I'm not knocking them. I'm sure they're great guys. I'm sure they're nice guys. Many of them had great resumes, and I get that and I understand that, but they weren't scared of them. They were scared of Larry Elder. This is where we are. This is where we are. This is what we have to understand. I was telling you as well, when it comes to voters, you have to know your audience. You have to know who you're connecting with. Although I would think that the vast majority of Americans can probably agree on 60 to 70% of things politically, even if we were to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation, there's obviously going to be some differences, because of our subcultures, ethnicity. And that's when you have to be able to know your audience. You have to know who you're speaking to. And you have to cater the message. You speak about the broader things that are important to everyone, but then you have to cater a message that specifically fits that particular audience. But this is stuff that can be done. I think Republicans can win as long as we have fighters. The problem is we haven't had enough fighters in the game. There's a congressman in Ohio, and I read the story earlier, and I'm sure I will not be able to find it now. But anyway, his last name is Gonzalez, and I forget what district he was in, or he is in, I'm sorry, in the state of Ohio. But the bottom line is he was one of the congressmen that voted. He was one of the congressmen that voted to impeach Trump. Oh, here it is. Facing uphill primary race, Representative Gonzalez won't run again in Ohio. I didn't intend to talk about this, but I think it's fitting. Ohio Republican who voted to impeach Trump decides not to seek re-election. So here's this guy. His name is Representative Anthony Gonzalez. I'm sure he's a nice man. He's a father, stuff like that. But I'm sure he's a great dad, great husband. That's all great, but he's not a fighter. Ohio Representative Anthony Gonzalez, who faced a brutal Republican primary after voting to impeach Trump following the January 6th Capitol attack, announced Thursday that he planned to retire rather than seek a third term in 2022. He's been there for a year, so I think he gets a full pension. I could be wrong on that. Check me if I am, which is just crazy to me. While my desire to build a fuller family life is at the heart of my decision, it is also true that the current state of our politics, especially many of the toxic dynamics, listen to this, inside our own party, is a significant factor in my decision. Gonzalez said this in a statement that he posted on Twitter late Thursday evening. Gonzalez, who turns 37 on Saturday, is the father of 2 young children. So listen, I mean, the guy's a father, I'm sure a husband. I'm sure he's a good man, but not a good politician. not a good, if you're going to fight for the soul of America, if you don't fight when the chips are down, what good are you? And I'm speaking politically. Everybody in their right mind knew when you have political pundits, when you have attorneys, asking all over the radio waves whether or not a president can be impeached after, when in doubt, don't. I mean, like, it makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense whatsoever. But and then you have these Republicans that either wanted to send a message, didn't want Trump back. Oh, things were just too tough. Things were just too crazy. No, those aren't the ones that we need going forward. And it isn't my intention to make this about Trump. The bottom line is that we need fighters. We can't just elect Republicans. We need Republicans that have specific messages, like Larry Elder did, so that you can hold them to account when they don't follow through on those messages. Everyone's going to talk a good game, right? We understand that. Most congressmen, so on, et cetera, they talk a good game. We all get that. But make sure you know what they intend to fight. Otherwise, they're not worth voting for. If they're going to give you a bunch of broad, sweeping platitudes, they look pretty, they're handsome, they sound great, they fit the part, I don't care. Screw them. You got to know what they're fighting for. Because I'm telling you, if you thought things were bad, look at where we are today. If you thought things were bad last year and this year thus far, can you imagine how much worse things are going to get and nastier things are going to get leading up to 2022? I believe that we're going to win the House. I believe that we can win the House. But it's going to be a fight. We can't just take it for granted. It is going to be a fight. This is where we are. But I'm glad to see that people are starting to stand up. We're starting to see it in the culture. That's why the Nicki Minaj story blesses my heart. I don't expect Nicki Minaj to come out as some conservative. I don't. You shouldn't expect it. I'm not looking for it. But I am expecting for more people like her to influence people that just say, hold up, wait a minute. Let's just check this for a second. Let's just think this through for a little bit. That's what she brings to the table. That's why they fear her. That's why they fear her. She's a woman of conviction. Obviously, because when people were attacking her, she didn't back down. Dave Mustaine, the same thing. At the risk of sounding like a kook, he talks about Fast and Furious because he believes it, and he was right. He was right. Next, when we get back, and I'm going to take your calls as well, but we'll talk about this NRA instructor that's training thousands of women inside of the inner city. You don't think people are starting to get it? People are starting to get it. And California cities leading salaries needed to buy a home. That's where you connect the heart. It's facts and heart. That's how you win California back. Facts and heart. This is Carl Jackson sitting in for the great Eldersky. We'll be back in a few.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. No, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America. You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down. You
are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime.
I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
Well, Wright came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan.
Seven 7243 888-971-7243. We're coming to you live from the ReliefFactor.com studio. We'll be getting to shortly as well. I told you about the NRA instructor. We'll talk about that. But also, Durham indicting a lawyer for lying, the Olympic gymnasts that were sexually assaulted. The FBI essentially just lied about them. The J6 rally, they all have one thing in common. And I'll get into all of these stories. But all of them tell us or tell of a bigger story or a bigger narrative. And that is that we can no longer trust these institutions that allegedly protect us. It's sad to say, but I do not trust the FBI. I do not trust the CIA. Listen, and obviously I don't know people in these institutions. All I know are the people that I see that are destroying the names of these institutions. I'm sure the rank and file, plenty of the rank and file are great, magnificent people. But I believe there's many that, or at least some that aren't as well. The only people that are going to be at this J6 rally, in my mind, here's my opinion. All right, this J6 rally is there to create a narrative, right? Trump supporters crazy, Trump supporters still dangerous, racist, white nationalists. The only people that'll be at that J6 rally are FBI informants and actors pretending to be Trump supporters and Antifa and Black Lives Matter people pretending to be Trump supporters. Stay away. We'll get into that a little later. Let's take a call real quick. Let's go to Brian in North Carolina. Brian, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You've got the mic.
Hello, Carl. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Go right ahead, Brian.
You nailed it on the head, brother. I'm telling you right now. A couple of weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi spent the weekend with George Soros and his son. And as we all know, no good can come from any meeting about like that. But I believe firmly that the true Trump supporters, true conservatives should stay away from that J6 rally tomorrow because, like Trump says, it's a setup, it's a trap. George Soros and Nancy Pelosi are cooking up something, and I just wanted to say that. What's your thoughts on it?
Yep, you're exactly right. Stay away, stay away, stay away. Brian, I really appreciate the call. Yeah, no one should be going to conservative, Republican, Libertarian. No one should be going to that. I hope that all they get are, a bunch of security and the fencing tomorrow. But I wouldn't doubt it. Listen, the left plays dirty. I wouldn't doubt it if they send actors up there and pretend like they're arresting them just for the sake of keeping this narrative going that America is somehow under siege by a bunch of people that trespassed on January 6th. Yes, some people got a little violent, but for the most part, they were, trespassers. The vast majority of the people that were arrested were trespassing. But the left wants to play this up because that's the narrative that they're going to be running with, that these people are still dangerous, so we have to control them. And by continuing to pump up this narrative, what they're doing is trying to embolden the powers that these departments have, which is just scary to me, to be quite honest with you. Let's take another call. How long before? Okay, all right. Let's take Rick in Columbus, Ohio. Rick, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You've got the mic. You got a minute there, Rick.
Hey, I just wanted to speak to that communist sympathizer, Miley. I actually agree with him on a couple of things. I'm 67 years old. I served in the Marines, and I've never had this much rage in my life without doing something about it. That's one thing. And the other thing is, when he said that China's not the enemy, I think he's right on that, too. Our own government is the enemy to us right now. They attack us everything we do.
Well, I will say this, Rick, and I appreciate the call. I do believe that China is our enemy, and I do believe that the people that the current occupants in the White House. All right, so let's talk to you about Pure Talk. Take a look at last month, an absolute landslide of you made the switch to Pure Talk. You were chained to overpriced unlimited plans from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, then finally decided to make the switch because you know that Pure Talk saves the average family over $800 a year without having to sacrifice coverage. Friends, if you haven't yet made the switch to Pure Talk, this is the easiest decision you'll make today. You can keep your phone, keep your number, or get huge discounts on the latest iPhones and Androids. Get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. Or if you still want unlimited data, you can get that and still save a fortune. Experience why Pure Talk is the highest rated wireless company by Consumer Affairs, why they're the preferred wireless partner of AMAC. From your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say Larry Elder, and you'll save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, say Larry Elder. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Vice President Kamala Harris is learning the hard way you can run, but you can't hide over your administration's disaster in Afghanistan. There she is over in Singapore being asked about this crisis. Americans being stranded, as Newt Gingrich put it this week. We've surrendered to the Taliban, essentially, and now we're trying to negotiate the terms of the surrender. And Politico national security reporter Alex Ward released leaked U.S. State Department evacuation numbers from Kabul, Afghanistan. According to Ward, we evacuated a total of 6,916 people from the country. Of those, only 483 were Americans. The vast majority of evacuees were Afghan nationals. So we're airlifting Afghan nationals out of Afghanistan, which leads the White House press secretary to describe that as a complete success. I mean, unreal. I want you to hear Jen Psaki. This is pretty amazing. Cut number 7. Responding to Peter Doocy, who is her constant foil. This is a success?
Is there any concern that maybe trying to reach this deadline and get everybody out, mistakes are being made now that there is a report that at least one of the Afghans evacuated to Qatar has suspected ISIS ties?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
The Arizona Supreme Court said Tuesday that contractors hired by the state Senate to conduct the audit would not need to release the records from their review by next week. This is only a temporary delay, is what we're being told. A left-wing watchdog group, American Oversight, took its record request to the court and emerged victorious when the Arizona Court of Appeals ruled that Cyber Ninjas, the Florida-based firm leading the audit, was subject to state public records law because it was performing a core government function. Arizona President Karen Fann argued the records should not be publicly released because they're maintained by private contractors, so legislative immunity applies to the documents. It is ordered extending the stay to enable the court to fully consider the issues raised in the petition for review. American Oversight's suit is not the only one leveled against the Arizona Senate. The Phoenix-based Arizona Republic newspaper sued the chamber and Cyber Ninjas on June 30th for access to the host of audit records under the same public records law. Of course, the Arizona Republic is suing. I mean, why would they be reporting? They would be suing people to try to stop the audit. The audit results are coming out soon, despite all of these legal challenges against it. We don't know what it's going to say, but I could tell you that people are very nervous that what might be implemented from, what actually might be exposed from these audit results are going to be significant. Very significant. We know that there were 72,000 more mail.
Wow, France recalls ambassador to U.S. over submarine deal? First time ever? I gotta look into this real quick. Okay, France is... This is embarrassing. I'm sorry, this is embarrassing. France recalls ambassador to U.S. over Australian submarine deal. French President Emmanuel Macron on Friday ordered the recall of France's ambassador to the United States, Philippe Etienne, to protest the Biden administration's deal to provide nuclear submarines to Australia without French participation. At the request of the President of the Republic, I have decided to immediately recall our 2 ambassadors to the U.S. and Australia to Paris for consultations. This is from French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian said, This exceptional decision is justified by the exceptional gravity of the announcements made on September 15th by Australia and the United States, the French foreign minister said. The cancellation of the attack-class submarine program binding Australia and France since 2016 and the announcement of a new partnership with the U.S. meant to launch studies on a possible future cooperation on nuclear-powered submarines constitute unacceptable behavior between allies and partners whose consequences directly affect the vision we have of our alliances, of our partnerships, and of the importance of the Indo-Pacific for Europe. This is, I mean, communicate with people, for God's sakes. Isn't it amazing how the left constantly said Trump didn't communicate with our allies. They would say the same about Bush. And here the Biden administration does it. And I'm sure you won't be hearing much about this. But this, if Francis, this guy is growing some courage all of a sudden with Trump off the scene. I guess he has to. It's pretty crazy. Hey, I want to play an audio clip for you. I believe it's of Larry Elder. I believe it's audio clip number 6. I want you to hear what Larry Elder had to say when he was discussing what was next after this gubernatorial campaign he just completed. Are you there, Sean? Okay, we'll talk about that shortly. Let me go to this instructor, this story on the NRA instructor who's training thousands of inner city women to ensure they're never victims. People are starting to understand that left-wing values, left-wing policies do not work. They're harming the inner cities. Crime is up. Housing is up. I'll talk to you shortly about the housing prices in California. But housing is up. And none of this stuff is going to stop. That's why I was saying, California, you had an amazing opportunity. The left scared you with the COVID vaccines, and they made you believe that every single one of you were going to die. The population hasn't teetered down. Yes, a lot of people have died from COVID, and I'm not minimizing the impact of the Wuhan virus. It can be very deadly for some. But for the overwhelming amount of Americans, the Wuhan virus isn't going to do much to you. Over 99.5% of people are going to be able to survive. And the numbers are coming down. But I'm telling you, Americans are beginning to fight back. Americans are beginning to realize that these left-wing policies that the Democrats are dishing out simply don't work. They're not going to cut it. Hat tip for Gatton Man. This is from Fox News. An NRA instructor described as the left's worst nightmare helped train thousands of minority women from Detroit on how to safely protect themselves with guns to, quote, ensure they're never victims. The left thinks the Second Amendment wasn't made for people who look like us. They said the same thing during the Jim Crow era, too. This is from NRA instructor Rick Ector, who is black. And he said in a video, this in a video published by the NRA on Thursday morning. Ector held a 2-day annual event at the end of August where he helped train, listen to this, 4,000 minority women from inner city Detroit on gun safety and use. He explained that Americans deserve to use their Second Amendment rights to protect themselves as gun crimes continue to increase. 4,000 women. That is unheard of. That is amazing. It's a 2-day annual event. Rick Ector went on to say, and I quote, if simply taking guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens was the answer, Detroit would be the safest place on earth. Instead, it's seen a 53% increase in shootings in 2020 alone. In fact, according to Ector last weekend, he said he trained the 4,000 lovely women to ensure that they're never victims. And this isn't about politics for him. It's about common sense. Of course it's common sense. A gun is a great equalizer between a woman and a male attacker. I can't stand that the left wants to remove it. Democrats want to remove that great equalizer. First and foremost, the Second Amendment is to protect us against a tyrannical government. I know you don't get that. Many of you that live in a blue city, I mean, it was mind-blowing for me when I moved from Los Angeles to where I saw gun crime. And then I moved to Florida, where plenty of people had guns, but there was far less crime. Moving from LA where you're told over and over again, guns bad, guns bad, guns bad, guns bad. Yet, drive-bys, especially during the time and period that I lived there, drive-bys were happening like crazy. Crime was crazy. Back and forth violence between gangs were crazy. And that wasn't slowing down. And then I moved to Orlando, Florida, and I'm watching guys in pickup trucks, teenagers having rifles in the back of their pickup trucks. And I'm thinking, what a mistake I just made. I just moved from California. Yeah, I may have been in a somewhat dangerous location, but I just moved to a place where people, white dudes can carry rifles in their pickup trucks. And over time, I realized, wow, these people just love the Second Amendment. It's far safer here than it is there. It's absolutely amazing. Criminals are always going to get their hands on guns. I don't care what laws you put out there. That's why they're criminals. They're going to find a way to go around them. So what better thing you can do? What a great service this gentleman, Rick Ector, is providing by helping these ladies learn how to protect themselves in a dangerous city, unfortunately, like Detroit, Michigan. Again, another city that's run by Democrats. This is Carl Jackson sitting in for Larry Elder. We'll be back in a few.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime.
I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
When Wright came in this morning, he wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000.
So you always said to throw, some money in the tip jar on your way out. Is there any money left in the tip jar for a future campaign? Basically what I'm asking, what's ahead for you?
I know what you're asking, Ginger. Very, very cleverly done. I've now become a pretty potent political figure here in California, and I think a pretty potent political figure nationwide. And I'm not going to leave the stage. Right now, I'm taking a few days to decompress. I always knew the odds were against me, but it's painful when you lose. I remember Bob Dole, when he got crushed in 1996, contacted George McGovern, who got really in 1972, and said, when does it hurt? And George McGovern reportedly said, I'll let you know when that happens. So it's not fun. It's not fun to lose. I thought we ran a good campaign. I had a really good team, and I just needed time to think. Am I going to go back to radio? Am I going to stay in politics? Am I going to give it another shot? I just don't know yet.
All right, that was Larry Elder. So he just doesn't know yet. Obviously, Larry Elder's cachet has grown tremendously, and whatever he decides to do, he will obviously be successful at. I do believe I am one of these people that still believes that if anyone were to be able to win the governorship, a Republican in California, if the Republican Party would actually get behind them, if they would work with Fix California and Rick Grinnell's organization in order to secure the vote, fight for voter ID, so on, etc. Maybe even team up with PragerU and, hitting college campuses. And, I think that it can be done. I think that it can be done. And I think it's a travesty that the Republican Party just leaves a state as big as California and says we're not going to make any inroads. Meanwhile, you get Democrats that are flooding the zone with illegal aliens and doing whatever they can to make sure they try to take states like Texas and Florida and so on, et cetera. And then Republicans look at states and just say, that's just a goner. There's nothing we can do about it. No plan, as far as I know, to ever do anything about it. That is just absolute craziness to me. Real quick, I want to mention this. I see this on Hat Tip Daily Wire. Blinken deletes tweet saying U.S. will stand with Hong Kong. And then I guess the spokesperson for the Secretary of State issued some type of a statement. It says here on Thursday, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's Twitter feed stated that the Biden administration was willing to stand with the people of Hong Kong, but that didn't last long. He deleted the tweet and substituted another. Blinken initially tweeted, Beijing should let the voices of all Hong Kongers be heard. The PRC's disqualification of district councilors only weakens Hong Kong's long-term political and social stability. We stand with the people of Hong Kong and continue to support their human rights and fundamental freedoms. I'll continue this on the other side because he's changed his tune. These people are in China's pocket. I don't know how else to say it.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Vice President Kamala Harris is learning the hard way you can run, but you can't hide over your administration's disaster in Afghanistan. There she is over in Singapore being asked about this crisis. Americans being stranded, as Newt Gingrich put it this week. We've surrendered to the Taliban, essentially, and now we're trying to negotiate the terms of the surrender. And Politico national security reporter Alex Ward released leaked U.S. State Department evacuation numbers from Kabul, Afghanistan. According to Ward, we evacuated a total of 6,916 people from the country. Of those, only 483 were Americans. The vast majority of evacuees were Afghan nationals. So we're airlifting Afghan nationals out of Afghanistan, which leads the White House press secretary to describe that as a complete success. I mean, unreal. I want you to hear Jen Psaki. This is pretty amazing. Cut number 7. Responding to Peter Doocy, who is her constant foil. This is a success.
Is there any concern that maybe trying to reach this deadline and get everybody out, mistakes are being made now that there is a report that at least one of the Afghans evacuated to Qatar has suspected ISIS ties?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
Arizona Supreme Court said Tuesday that contractors hired by the state Senate to conduct the audit would not need to release the records from their review by next week. This is only a temporary delay, is what we're being told. A left-wing watchdog group, American Oversight, took its record request to the court and emerged victorious when the Arizona Court of Appeals ruled that Cyber Ninjas, the Florida-based firm leading the audit, was subject to state public records law because it was performing a core government function. Arizona President Karen Fann argued the records should not be publicly released because they're maintained by private contractors, so legislative immunity applies to the documents. It is ordered extending the stay to enable the court to fully consider the issues raised in the petition for review. American Oversight's suit is not the only one leveled against the Arizona Senate. The Phoenix-based Arizona Republic newspaper sued the chamber and Cyber Ninjas on June 30th for access to the host of audit records under the same public records law. Of course, the Arizona Republic is suing. I mean, why would they be reporting? They would be suing people to try to stop the audit. The audit results are coming out soon, despite all of these legal challenges against it. We don't know what it's going to say, but I could tell you that people are very nervous that what might be implemented from, what actually might be exposed from these audit results are going to be significant, very significant. We know that there were 72,000 more mail-in ballots received than were sent out. We know that this election was interfered with in many different ways, from the Center for Technology of Civic Life, from Mark Zuckerberg's money, and many other people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
In terms of dedication to helping America, there's no comparison between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump really, really, really wanted to help America. Joe Biden does not. That's Biden, and that's Afghanistan, and that's the conservatives. Now Biden, which we would not have if we had a Republican president. Yes, every one of you businesses in America, you must not allow people who are not vaccinated, even if they've had COVID, and are probably better, in a better medical position not to transmit or get the disease. Everybody has to get a vaccination. We've been lying to you, we on the left, since Roe v. Wade. People should, the government should not interfere with our bodies. It has been a total lie on the part of the left. It was a bull-ass excuse to defend abortion at any time of pregnancy. Nothing they say they mean. It is what is said by the left is said in order to further their agenda, whatever the agenda might be. They do not believe people are in control of their bodies. But in the name of safety, you can force people to do that. Canada, you can't even fly if you didn't get inoculated. Canada is not a free country. Canada does not have free speech. Canada does not have free ability to even travel.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
They're racist, racist, racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in to the ReliefFactor.com studio is 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. I'm really concerned about China, and I think we all should be, quite frankly. We know that we gave up the Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan, and China is looking at it, whether that's something that they would like to take over, in a couple of years or in the immediate future. That I do not know, but they're obviously eyeing it, not to mention the $3.5 trillion of minerals that they see there that would be advantageous to China. And you know what, I can't help but to think, and this is just me speaking out loud, all right? This is just my opinion. There was a story the other day given to me by Forgotten Man where there was a 9 and 10-year-old boy beheaded in Afghanistan, and they've been doing this. We haven't been talking about it. The media has been covering it. Obviously, we have no boots on the ground. We have no way of getting intelligence besides the heroes that are going there on their own private dime and dollar to try to bring Americans out that are still being held hostage and were abandoned by the Biden administration in Afghanistan. And yet the Taliban is going around and they're making an example out of people, and they've been beheading children. They've been beheading little boys. And I suspect the reason, in part, is because these little boys have experienced freedom and they don't want these little boys to grow up and turn against them. The imprint that Americans left and the bit of freedom, just imagine all of the people, we were there for 20 years. So imagine the girls. And I'm sure, listen, there's no doubt in my mind that a lot of crazy stuff still happened just because it's not Western civilization. I get it. But they didn't have to endure the Taliban with Americans around. They didn't have to endure, beheadings. Little girls didn't. I'm sure there were still plenty of people being married off, sadly. That is their custom. Many young girls being married off to older men. So sadly, that is part of their custom. But the brutality, a lot of these girls didn't have to experience in the same way that they are now going to experience for the first time under the Taliban, thanks to Joe Biden and his administration. But I can't help but to think, man, did we just literally clear the way for China? I'm not just talking about the minerals. I'm talking about for China to be a greater threat and a greater adversary towards America. I mean, all of this stuff just sounds crazy initially, but I can't help but to think it when they're sawing off the heads of little boys because they don't want those little boys to grow up, those little boys that experience freedom, They got a taste of freedom to come back and go against them. We're in a sick world. The Biden administration, and I don't say this to be hyperbolic, the Biden administration is evil. They are evil. There's going to be a backlash. I hope there's a backlash anywhere and everywhere patriots are inside of the United States of America, because God knows we have to fight back. I can't believe that I'm saying I'm so thankful for a Nicki Minaj or a Dave Mustaine. And again, I'm not putting these people on a pedestal. Dave Mustaine seems to be more conservative. I don't expect Nicki Minaj to be, but I'm thankful that she's willing to be a free thinker. Because that's what it's going to take. People with influence, people using their own minds, speaking up. Because there's going to be a backlash. There's going to be a backlash. People can only endure so much. Californians, I want you to remember as the year gets worse, because it's going to get worse. I want you to remember all of Larry Elder's platforms, whether it's housing, whether it's the wildfires, whether it's the lockdowns. We already know vaccine passports now. Isn't that correct, Sean? Vaccine passports now going to be required out in Los Angeles, so they're working on it. Says Sean, I mean, they're going to crack down. They're going to try to make life miserable because this is all they know how to do. They want power. They want control. And they're going to crack down wherever they can. And this is going to stir up a backlash. But I was talking about this story about Secretary of State Anthony Blinken changing his Twitter feed. And basically, the first thing he tweeted was Beijing should let the voices of all Hong Kongers be heard. The PRC's disqualification of district councilors only weakens Hong Kong's long-term political and social stability. We stand with the people of Hong Kong and continue to support the human rights and fundamental freedoms. And then Blinken deleted that tweet. 3 minutes after he posted the initial tweet, he substituted one stating, the PRC's disqualification of 7 pro-democracy district councilors undermines the ability of people in Hong Kong to participate in their governance. Government should serve the people they represent. Decreasing representation goes against the spirit of Hong Kong's basic laws, if he can be taken seriously. Meanwhile, roughly 40 minutes after Blinken's initial tweet, State Department spokesperson Ned Price issued a replica of Blinken's initial tweet. On Friday, a State Department spokesperson claimed to Newsweek the team that manages the secretary's Twitter account mistakenly sent the tweet intended to come from the spokesperson. We fixed that error and tweeted from both accounts, speaking out about Hong Kong authorities' disqualification of pro-democracy district councilors. Suggestions that this administration change was somehow motivated by political concerns is patently untrue. The tweets affirm in words and in meaning that the United States stands with the people of Hong Kong. How? We urge the PRC to allow the people of Hong Kong to meaningfully participate in their governance. Or you'll do what? Or you'll do what? You've already rolled over on your back. You guys are in the pocket. You've got a corrupt president that is in the pocket of the Chinese people. You virtually handed Afghanistan to the Taliban, knowing China would go in to extract minerals, to become wealthier, to become more powerful. Many of those minerals that will be used in military equipment. You gave the Taliban our military equipment, and you have the nerve to speak out about Hong Kong and their rights of governance. Why would anyone take you seriously, Anthony Blinken? Why would anyone take you seriously, Biden administration? Especially after seeing what you got. Millie is still around? Millie is still around? This is unreal where we're at. I hope you guys are getting to the point where you're fed up enough where you are determined to do something about it. It's going to take more than voting. It's going to take participating. It's going to take getting involved. It really is that simple. California. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but I just want you guys to think about this. You know, this is universal. It isn't just California. Everyone is suffering under the everyone is suffering under the Biden administration. There's no doubt about it. I looked at this map this morning, and it was talking about the housing prices, average housing prices, and monthly payments around the United States of America. In Pittsburgh, it talks about how the median home price is $141,000. The salary needed to pay for that house is about $37,659.86. You can jump to Cleveland, where the median home price is $150,000. You can afford a house like that with a salary of $40,437.72. Your payment approximately $943 a month. And then you skip along, you go to some of these these blue cities like San Jose. Actually, we'll get into these numbers after the break. They are killing the American dream, one house at a time, Democrats are. We'll be back in a few. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
How is it possible that Joe Biden let this happen? Was this intentional? Did he want our enemies to have it? It's hard to believe that incompetence could possibly let this happen. Jake Sullivan, the highly unimpressive person who's never done anything useful in his life, says we don't have a complete picture, obviously, of where every article of defense materials has gone, but certainly a fair amount of it has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. And obviously, we don't have a sense that we're going to be ready to hand it over to us at the airport. The Taliban now has the 26th largest air force in the world with 0 pilots. 600,000 weapons, 75,000 vehicles, 200 total aircraft, and $85 billion in total weapons. 110 helicopters, 60 transportation cargo airplanes, 20 light attack airplanes, and 18 intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance airplanes. The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than Australia. And this is all on our government. This is all on Joe Biden, who now wants praise, who says, this was a perfect withdrawal. Are you kidding me? Cut 59, Jen Psaki says that the Afghanistan effort is a success. It's on track to be the largest airlift in U.S. history.
Say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. No, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Anything but a success.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
I think this is a crisis that we haven't faced since 9/11. I think it's worse than 9/11 because we ran towards the danger and tried to save people, then now we're abandoning them. Is the president going to stick with this?
It seems like the president is doubling down. And what is shocking to me, we had a brief with Secretary Blinken, Secretary Austin, General Milley, etc. And there was very strong bipartisan pushback on the August 31st deadline. In fact, some of the strongest statements pushing back on that came from my Democratic colleagues, particularly those who are veterans who've served in Afghanistan and in uniform in other parts of the world, were very forceful in telling the administration to their face that this is a disaster. And I think there was a recognition by the administration that we can't get all of our people, let alone the thousands of SIV applicants out. And yet a few hours later, the president of the United States went on TV and doubled down on the August 31st deadline, which is completely arbitrary, or let me rather say is solely intended to get us out before September 11th, 2021. And as we've discussed before, Hugh, whoever in the White House decided it would be a good idea to try and get everyone out by September 11th, 2021, and thinking that that would be some positive PR win for the United States.
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. This is your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. The number to call in, 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. The Democrats are destroying the American dream. House prices are skyrocketing. The price of median homes inside of blue cities are just going haywire. San Jose, the median home price is $1,250,000. With a monthly payment of $5,900, you need at least a salary of $250 or $254,000 in order to achieve that. Inside of Los Angeles, I actually thought it would be more. The median home price is $576,000. Now that's the median home price. Monthly payment of $2,873. You need a salary of $120,000 to be able to afford that. Boston, $460,000. All of these blue cities, I guarantee you, for some of the same reasons, it's regulations. They're not building enough houses. A bunch of these tree huggers that are making it unaffordable and then complaining about the unaffordability of housing. But this is what's happening. The left is continuing to ruin the American dream one house at a time. Let's take a couple of calls. Let's go to Carol in New Jersey. Carol, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You've got the mic.
Oh, hi there, Carl. I love to
Carol.
speak to you. Are you going to stay on as a co-host with Larry when he comes back?
Well, I'm here. I'm here as long as Larry wants me here. We'll put it that way.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought that he gave it a valiant effort, and he was so gracious in defeat, but then I wouldn't expect anything else from him. But, you know, I think it's absolutely horrific what's happening to children in Afghanistan. The way these children are being treated, it's horrific.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately, this is Joe Biden's legacy. My fear is that these children one day will look at America and what America didn't do and how America abandoned them, and those children will be courted by the Taliban. Some of them, those that they perhaps don't kill, and perhaps they'll turn their ire against us. So that is something that I am really concerned about. Is there anything else?
I agree with you. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Carol, was there something else you wanted to add?
No, I'm finished.
Okay. All right, Carol. Thanks so much for being out there. I appreciate it. Let's go to David in Oregon. David, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You got the mic.
Carl, it's an honor to talk to you, man. You're doing a great job, and I really appreciate your passion and energy. I hope it catches on because people need to rise up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The main reason I called you really is because you've been talking about me, and you don't even know it. I'm running for Congress here in Oregon, and I am a man that's going to stand up for the Constitution and stand up for the people, stand up for everyone's rights, and I don't care what the party may have to say. And I really believe, like you say, there's evil in our White House communism trying to take over, and any Republican in our red legislature right now who isn't standing up and screaming is probably on their side as far as I'm concerned. Okay. We got to do something,
And so you when did you decide to run for Congress? Are you running for state house, state legislature, or are you talking about U.S. Congress?
U.S. Congress, sir. And I decided basically in May of 20, then I kind of changed my mind, but God pushed me in August, and I filed on November 4, 2020.
Okay. All right. What's your last name, David?
David Russ. RussIsForUs.com. RussIsForUs.com. RussIsForUs.com.
All right. Well, you guys check out David and see if he's a man of his word and put him to the test. But we do need fighters out there. And I'm not endorsing any candidate by any stretch of the imagination. But if you guys want to look into this gentleman, I would suggest, you do so. But obviously, we're heading into a primary season. Actually, we're already in a primary season. And soon, next year, primaries will be decided. So you're going to have to pick out your candidates. I suggest you start looking for candidates now. Candidates are going to start jumping into these races pretty quickly. They're going to have to, because the primaries, again, are going to be decided next summer or so. So find candidates that you like and support them. Don't throw ad hominem attacks at the other guys that are conservatives, Republicans. Talk about policy and what you're going to do if you once you get in office, once elected, or what you can do, what you would like to try and do. Obviously, as a congressman, you're a legislator, so there's not as much you can do, but at least you can. One of the advantages that you have is you have a platform, you have a pulpit to some extent, and you can help push agendas forward. And people should know what agendas you want to help push forward. And then if you elect people and help people get elected and they don't stick to their word, fire them within 2 years. Do not let them continue to go, because they'll only get worse and worse and worse as their heads swell in Washington, D.C. So just keep that in mind. All right, let me talk about this real quick, and I'll take more of your calls on the other side of the break. So Durham has indicted a lawyer that's been lying and concealing ties to the Clinton campaign. Also, you have the gymnasts, many gymnasts that were sexually assaulted by this disgusting doctor. I don't know why he's still alive, Larry Nassar. And the FBI did absolutely nothing. And then you have the J6 rally. And I told you before, and I'll just say it again, all of these are connected. All of these tell us one particular narrative, that our bureaucratic institutions, the DOJ, and now it looks like the DOD as well, at least the brass in the DOD, but definitely in the DOJ, a lot of this leadership just needs to go. It needs to be cleaned out. So Durham indicts this lawyer. Why there's only an indictment of a lawyer? Listen, I don't exactly know. This guy is named Michael Sussman. A federal grand jury had tip for Gatman. This from Fox News. A federal grand jury indicted attorney Michael Sussman based on allegations stemming from special counsel John Durham's probe of the origins of the Russia investigation, leading to his resignation from a law firm with established ties to the DNC in Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. The indictment alleges that the cybersecurity attorney, who until this week was a partner at Perkins Coie and previously worked for the Justice Department, falsely stated that he was not working for any client when he presented evidence to FBI officials of a purported secret communication channel between then candidate Donald Trump and Russia. This stuff is so frustrating. So we've always known that it's a lie. You have John Durham that is going after these people. This seems relatively petty to me, but I guess it's a start. Actually, this is the second person that he's indicted. The first one walked eventually. We'll continue with this on the other side, and the connection between the Olympic gymnast and the J6 rally that I don't think is even happening.
Family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
Feeling right came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy, and thankfully, without any American casualties. We have seen thousands of people who have been evacuated from the airport in Afghanistan, where the United States military doing very hard and difficult work.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get all those Afghans out of Afghanistan. Again, let me read the numbers to you. This was leaked, and it's on the Federalist. We've got the whole article posted at MikeOnline.com. According to this leaked information from the U.S. State Department, the evacuation numbers, within 15-hour period of time, August 23rd, midnight to 3 p.m., the United States evacuated a total of 6,916 people. Only 483 were Americans. The vast majority were Afghan nationals, 6,425.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive.
So again, what do all these things have in common? Whether it's the indictment of Michael Sussman by John Durham, which this just seems like seriously anticlimactic, given the fact that John Durham has been in the basement forever. I hope and pray that there's more to come. There's no doubt the Biden administration would want to slow his roll. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But nonetheless, I'm like, good Lord. But it at least it's a start. I hope this will at least terrify some other attorneys from acting in this manner. But I seriously doubt it. And what stinks is this did so much damage to the Trump presidency, this whole Russia collusion thing. And supposedly this guy, this Michael Sussman guy, he had alleged that Trump, there was some type of connection between Trump and this Russian bank. And he just, in my opinion, he destroyed Trump's presidency to some degree. Despite that, Trump was able to get a lot of things done. But you had people like Paul Ryan that weren't willing, that didn't do near as much as they could have to make sure that Republicans had victories going forward in the future. Paul Ryan was a serious disappointment, and a lot of that, I believe, has to do with many of them seem to have bought into this nonsense, or maybe they wanted to buy into it because, again, Trump didn't fit. He wasn't the type of president that they wanted. He wasn't a Mitt Romney style. You know, Mitt Romney looked good and all this kind of stuff, but he would have gotten nothing done. So, you know, that didn't quite work. And then you have this story with the FBI and these girls that were molested and sexually assaulted over the years by this Larry Nassar guy, and they just bungled the FBI investigation. 3 girls came up initially. They only interviewed one of the girls, despite 2 of the girls saying, "Hey, we were available to meet," and all this kind of stuff. And then it's like they covered their tracks, you know, had wrong dates in there and so on, etc. I don't know what's happening in the FBI, but if there's some conservatives that are some freedom lovers that desire to be there, you know, maybe this is where you need to be. I feel like just like the left have infiltrated every aspect of society, every aspect of culture, every aspect of academia, the corporate world, the DOJ, the DOD, we need to do the same. If you feel God calling you to that, do it. Do it. Especially if you have a love for America and a love for law and justice. But this tells us that these institutions are in complete and utter chaos and in disarray, and they need to be wiped clean. Obviously not completely. The rank and file, so on, etc. I get it. But much of the leadership needs to go, and it does sound in this case, this was from the Indiana office, many of the rank and file. And then you have this issue with J6. I got to tell you, after the Megan Whitman thing, I don't trust the FBI. You guys may recall, I spoke to you about a columnist at I believe it was AM Greatness, that said if anyone comes to you and they just happen to know how to shoot a weapon perfectly, they know where to, you know, they're just great with firearms. They're great with knowing how to get away in a getaway car. All these things that FBI agents train to do. Stay away. Listen, guys, stay away from that J6 rally. Again, I don't even believe Trumpsters will go there, but I believe that the left is so evil with Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden in charge. I wouldn't doubt, just for the sake of narrative, that they would have actors out there that they'd arrest. The only people that I would suspect would go out to this J6 rally, again, are FBI informants, or Black Lives Matter, Antifa, or just actors pretending to be Trumpsters just so they can continue with this narrative. Just like they want to continue with COVID for whatever reason, they want to continue with this narrative. Actually, not for whatever reason. They want to continue with this narrative that Americans, that Republicans, that Trump supporters are fundamentally racist. They're nothing but a bunch of racist nationalists that have to be destroyed. Otherwise, they're going to destroy the country. Meanwhile, their voters are like, yay, 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 clapping like seals while they destroy the country, while they literally destroy the country and fundamentally try to transform it. So the takeaway from all of these, the Durham indictment, these Olympic gymnasts that were sadly sexually assaulted at the hands of this guy that should not be alive, and this J6 rally, our FBI agents, our Department of Justice needs to be cleaned out. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. We'll be back in a few.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen, by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to...
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But there are no doubt Americans who feel stranded in Afghanistan right now.
Of course there are. It's absurd for the White House, and it tells you something about Joe Biden. Britt Hume was on with our friend Guy Benson on his radio show yesterday, said this, cut number 1.
But anybody who ever heard him speak for any length of time could tell that this guy, this was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And, he could talk forever and was famous for it. But you never had the sense that he was terribly smart. And on top of that, now he's manifestly senile. And between those two things, this is a man with very, very severe limitations who is well too old, in my opinion, to be the President of the United States.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Whoever in the White House decided it would be a good idea to try and get everyone out by September 11th, 2021, and thinking that that would be some positive PR win for the United States should be fired, because that's a huge, huge propaganda win for the Taliban. And now it's also put us in the practical position on the ground of being entirely dependent on the largesse of the Taliban to get our people out. And I guarantee you, we're going to leave thousands of people behind. And that's unacceptable for the United States of America.
Congressman Gallagher, I'd like to point to 2 lies. The first lie is that we were obliged to leave by May 1. The Taliban broke the agreement at least.
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. This is your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. You can find me on Twitter at Carl Jackson Show, Facebook, Carl Jackson Radio, Instagram, the Carl Jackson Show, and also just check out my website, carljacksonshow.com. Maskless San Francisco mayor breaks health order, seen partying with BLM co-founder at nightclub. So the San Francisco mayor, London Breed, was seen partying and singing maskless in a nightclub with a Uncle BLM co-founder, breaking her city's mask mandate. She's been very clear that everybody needs to do their part. This is a quote from Daniel Rapkin, who owns CrossFit Golden Gate Gym. This is also according to NBC Bay Area, but Danielle Rapkin goes on to say she's been very clear that everybody needs to do their part. We're not out of the woods. Actually, yes, you are, Danielle. San Francisco's rules have been very restrictive, and I don't see her playing her part in that photo. The Black Cat nightclub's Instagram page had posted and then deleted a photo showing Breed smiling and partying with friends maskless on Wednesday evening. When are you guys going to get it? I mean, seriously, when are you guys going to get it? These people, they don't believe this stuff. They just know the power that it has over you. They'll play the part. They'll put the mask on in front of the cameras. And then as soon as the cameras are off, they'll take them off and they'll party like it's 1999 all over again. They don't care about you. They don't care about this except for the fact that it gives them power. These people are beyond hypocrites. It's supposed to be we the people that have the power, and these people are taking your power away. I know Daniel Rapkin, I'm sure she's a nice, sweet lady, and she wants to think the best, but they don't think the best of you, Daniel Rapkin. They don't care if your business fails. They don't care if you can pay your mortgage. They don't care if you can pay your car note. They don't care if you can put food on the table. They care that you vote for them. And sadly, they were able to scare plenty of Californians into voting for Gavin Newsom, a man that is systematically destroying their lives, has no idea what he's doing. The guy is absolutely clueless, spoiled brat from head to toe, that's risen through the ranks based upon his connections, based upon his looks, based upon his wealth, and nothing more. And nothing more. This article goes on to say videos and photos of Breed in the jazz club, however, continue to circulate on social media and show other people in the club were also maskless. Yeah, they're not concerned about COVID because there's no reason for them to be concerned about COVID. I mean, obviously, and I'm not minimizing COVID again. I feel like I hate that. I feel like I have to say that, but I know that for some people, COVID can be disastrous. But for the vast majority of people, over 99%, this is the coronavirus. This is endemic. It's here to stay. We're going to have to learn to live with it. People are going to have to deal with the fact that natural immunity, along with the vaccines, eventually we're going to get to herd immunity. As a matter of fact, we're already beyond the point of herd immunity, according to what Fauci was saying initially. So it's now time to live our lives. You can be safe. You can do whatever you want to do. Take therapeutics, get a vaccine, whatever, natural immunity like myself. We're past this thing now. This is strictly about power. And I guarantee you Californians are going to regret it. Let's take a couple of calls, and then I want to talk about the issue, the situation on the border, because remember that Remain in Mexico policy ruling where the Biden administration had to re-implement Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. It doesn't seem like anyone is following that because the numbers are almost just as high. We'll talk about that. And then, obviously, the FAA has grounded Fox News' drones near where thousands of migrants or illegal migrants are sheltering under a bridge. So we'll talk about that quickly. But first, let's take a couple of calls. If you guys could be quick, let's go to Agnes in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Agnes, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You've got the mic.
Thank you, Carl. Pleasure to be here. I just wanted to say that the Republicans who didn't vote and the California GOP let the Republican Party down. Jessica Patterson should have invested money in TV advertisement to counter the opposition when they said that the Trump Republicans want to take your voting rights away. She should have gotten on TV the same way and corrected that. I know that the GOP did not endorse any candidate for the recall because it wasn't in their bylaws. And worse is the racism that was exhibited against Larry Elder was simply despicable. The policies in this country. I am an angel mom. My son was killed by an illegal alien who was previously deported.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And the policies of the border crisis, it is disgusting. Over 2 million has poured in our country. And all I say and all I want to do is deport every illegal alien, especially the criminals who are harming our families, our relatives, our friends. And I hope that if that policy does not change, that every single one that stands for that hypocrisy will fall victim to their own policies, because it's going to be a matter of time. I already had to bury my son, U.S. citizen born in Long Beach. This government, this administration, and the previous in Bush didn't care. Didn't even care. Nobody cares. And on top of it, on top of insult to injury, the judge in the Superior Court made a deal with the killer who was going for first or second degree murder. He begged him 3 times. It's on the transcript. You can pull it at Pomona Superior Court. 3 times the judge said, would you please take a plea so you can have time with your children? Are you sure, Mr. Gonzalez, you don't want to take a plea? You still be a young man while my son laid in a coffin 6 feet under.
I'm so sorry. What was your son's name, Agnes?
My son's name was Ronald da Silva, and I get called. I was born in Hungary. My family escaped communism, so I know what this country is turning into. The same thing my family escaped from. And I am cringing and begging people, please open your eyes. Do not just vote because somebody has a Latin name, or do not just vote because
Agnes,
they have a D behind their name.
We're running out of time, but God bless you. Thank you, and I'm so sorry about the loss of your son. God help us. Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. We'll be back.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
But don't worry, everybody. The Biden regime, they're taking this very seriously. In fact, the Biden regime has issued a scathing memo that has made the Taliban legitimately frightened. I am reading, quote from thehill.com, the State Department voices concern over all-male Taliban government. This is shocking. In fact, this could change the political dynamics of the entire region. The spokesperson says, we have made clear our expectation that the Afghan people deserve an inclusive government. The State Department says that they will judge the Taliban by its actions and not words. And of course, one of the people that are running Afghanistan is Haqqani, who runs the Haqqani network that was created thanks to our reckless withdrawal from Afghanistan. The State Department continues by saying, we want to also reiterate our clear expectation that the Taliban ensure that Afghan soil is not used to threaten any other countries and allow humanitarian access in support of the Afghan people. The world is watching closely. You men. You evil men. Well, they go even further. The State Department is saying that they're worried that their administration is not diverse enough. You see, they're insufficiently have people of color. They need more Ilhan Omars in the Pashtun government in Afghanistan.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Israel is getting ready for their 4th jab. Now, some people, this is how dishonest the media is. They say, well, Israel in the last couple days, they've seen their rates go down. Now, why do you think that COVID rates would be going down in Israel the last couple days? Anybody? Is it because of the vaccine, masks? No, it's because of the high holidays, okay? People are staying at home and they're not going out and they're not working and they're not congregating. So they've locked down the country through basically pseudo-religious mandate. Israel and Sweden, if you look at the 7-day rolling average of new cases per 100,000, Sweden, on this chart that has been published,
You know, What more could I say after Agnes? The border crisis, obviously it impacted her in a personal way, and I'll be honest, I hope that we see Agnes on the campaign trail. Agnes, call back any day. I wish I would have asked the gentleman to get your information because I think you need to be out there as much as possible speaking about this, because this is going to hit hard. The border crisis hasn't adjusted. The networks are hiding the border crisis, and it's worse than ever. Back in March, 173,000 people tried to cross our borders. That was a record, folks, and the networks covered it for about 113 minutes. That's a pretty significant amount of time. But in August, as the number is up to 208,887, so we're still breaking records. They've only covered it 6.5 minutes. The media is doing everything they can to hide Biden's tracks. We're going to pay for this. We're going to pay for this. These people are changing our country. Healthcare, immigration, regulation, academia. They've used all of these tools to destroy America. Now they're using 1/6. They're using COVID. They're using climate. Anything these people can to gain power, they will do. Let's take one last call. Jeff, you're going to have to be quick, but I wanted to try to take you before we get out of here. Jeff in Monterey, California. Welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You got the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl, very much. I'll keep it quick. I just voted in this last election. They did not require any type of ID. I just walked in. I had a mask on. I actually had a hoodie on, too. So all you could do is see my eyes. But they just asked me for my name, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper and handed it to them, and then they gave me a ballot. Point number two, the previous election, I also voted in, and when I went and voted in person, I was the only native English speaker in the room, and half the people in the room, it was about 20 people, half the people in the room spoke no English, but they were voting. I don't know about that, but, that's what it is. And the third thing, my last is for the people in America. The people in America out there, if you want to be concerned, you need to know about California because for 6 little words: Pelosi, Schiff, Waters, Kamala, Feinstein. You need to be concerned about what goes on.
Thanks
California.
for the call. Thanks for the call. Listen, California coming to a town near you. They want a California every state. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. Until next week, guys, don't grow weary doing good. God bless.